Do you really know what happened in Shirley Temple's sad life behind her cute hair and smile? Shirley's life was full of intense pressures, busy plans, and being seen as an object, even when she wasn't Hollywood's darling during hard economic times. She kept a positive attitude on screen, but things were much harder for her behind the scenes. Come dive with us into the secret parts of Shirley Temple's life as we look at the bad side of her fame and find out how strong this little starlet really is. A star is born. Have you ever thought about what it takes to become famous in Hollywood? Shirley Temple's story began in the sunny California town of Santa Monica. Her story is one of amazing ability found at a young age, and a trip that would change the entertainment business for good. The Temple family, George and Gertrude, saw something special in their daughter Shirley from the time she could talk and walk. At first, she had a beautiful smile, bright blue eyes, and a lively personality, but what really made her stand out was her natural talent for singing, dancing, and playing. Young Shirley's first movie role was in Baby Burlesques, a series of short films made by Educational Pictures in the early 1930s. She was only 3 years old at the time. People liked these movies because they made fun of popular adult movies at the time by casting children as adults and giving them funny, often tongue-in-cheek lines to say. Shirley Temple's ability to say lines with a maturity beyond her years, along with her boundless energy and captivating screen presence, made an impact that will last. Around the time most kids were learning to walk and talk for the first time, she was already stealing scenes and winning people over. Shirley's mother, Gertrude Temple, set her on the path she is on now with her work. Gertrude, who was strong and driven, saw that her daughter had ability and was determined to help her grow it. She was a strong and dedicated stage mother who helped Shirley find her way in the complicated world of show business. She was Shirley's guardian when she first became a kid star. It became clear that Shirley had a unique talent as her appearances on Baby Burlesque got more notice. She was so mature for her age that it was hard for her to sing, dance, and play. It was seen in Hollywood. But it wasn't just her skills that made her stand out, it was also the way she styled her hair. When you're a Hollywood star, your image is everything. Shirley Temple's image was carefully crafted down to the smallest detail. Shirley's unique hairstyle, which had exactly 56 curls, was one of the most recognizable and long-lasting parts of her image. The shape of her hair would become her signature, but no one knows what this number means. This very well thought-out haircut was created by Shirley's mother, Gertrude. Shirley's mother would carefully style her hair every time she went out in public or on TV. She thought that her daughter's unique haircut would help her stand out in the tough world of Hollywood. Then, these wavy locks became a sign of purity, charm, and the innocence of youth. Shirley's picture was carefully chosen to show these traits, and her curls were a big part of her star power. They gave her an extra bit of sweetness and fun to her look, which made her even more of the perfect child star. What does it take for a child to take over Hollywood, which is usually controlled by experienced actors and people who have worked in the business for a long time? Shirley Temple knew the answer was in her amazing skills, charm, and perfect timing. She first became famous in the 1930s and quickly became Hollywood's biggest star, enchanting viewers with her undeniable beauty. Shirley went from being a baby burlesque to being in major movies very quickly. Early roles in the humorous short films of Baby Burlesque showed that she had talent, but her big break came when she was cast in the 1934 movie Stand Up and Cheer. She played an orphan in the movie who amazes people with her singing and dancing, giving them hope during the hard times of the Great Depression. But it was Bright Eyes, which came out the same year, that really cemented Shirley's reputation as Hollywood's golden child. She played Shirley Blake in the movie, a girl who is young but already knows a lot about how to deal with complicated adult relationships. Not only did the part show how good an actress she was, but it also showed how well she could connect with both kids and adults. On Bright Eyes, she sang the classic song on the good ship Lollipop, which would become her signature song. And this time, one of her most memorable parts was in the 1935 movie Curly Top. She played a child named Elizabeth Blair in the movie. When a rich person adopts her, her life changes for the better. People loved Shirley's sweet performance as the brave and likable orphan, and the movie's success made her even more of Hollywood's golden child. It was nice to get away from the problems of the time with Shirley's movies, which gave people both fun and hope. She often played figures who were always positive and had a can-do attitude even when things went wrong. Shirley Temple's movies were a bright spot in a world dealing with the harsh facts of the Great Depression. They showed people that even in the worst times, there was still room for happiness and laughter. Theatergoers and people working in the movie business both agreed that Shirley Temple had amazing skills. Shirley won a special Juvenile Academy Award in 1935 when she was only 6 years old. It was made to be about half the size of a normal Oscar. The Academy gave this award to young performers because it was a unique way to celebrate their skills without putting them up against adult actors. At the 6th Academy Awards show in 1935, Shirley was given the award in a touching moment. The crowd loved her even more after her acceptance speech, which she gave with the sincerity and innocence of a child. "I want to thank the Academy for this," she said. "Thanks to my parents, my little brother, Mr. Darryl Ferry, Zanuck, and everyone else in the world for their help. She became a Hollywood star and a beloved figure in the hearts of many generations because she could bring hope and happiness to hard times." Taking advantage of her and rumors, one of the saddest parts of Shirley Temple's life is how the movie business took advantage of her. She was thrown into a world that expected her to be devoted and make sacrifices that were beyond her years. As a child, it was hard to have a normal life because the movie business required long hours on set, lots of practice, and a never-ending routine. Shirley had to give consistent acts no matter what was going on in her personal life or how she felt. It was hard on her body and mind to keep up with this constant workload, which left her mentally and physically drained. In addition, Shirley's mother, Gertrude Temple, who had helped her start her career, was accused of pushing her daughter too hard. Some people were surprised by how ambitious and sometimes mean Gertrude was when she managed Shirley's job. They even said that she was taking advantage of her own child. Shirley Temple's earnings as a child star were also handled by her parents and 20th Century Fox, the company that hired her. Shirley's movies made a lot of money, but she only kept a small part of what she made. Her parents and the company handled her money, so even though she was very famous, she couldn't get to her own money. At a very young age, Shirley Temple started her rise to fame. The fact that she was young when baby burlesques were being filmed shows the darker side of the movie business. This movie set was not at all a good place for kids to be. Behind the scenes, children who were acting up, like Shirley, were punished in troubling ways. The penalty box was one especially scary practice. A sound box with no windows where kids who didn't follow the rules were taught a lesson by sitting on a block of ice. As a way to keep young players in line, this horrifying punishment was used. It was a stark reminder of the bad side of Hollywood's use of child stars. Shirley Temple had a lot of ability and charm on screen, but behind the scenes, she and other children were exploited and punished in ways that no child should have to go through. As if the stress of being famous and being abused on set weren't bad enough, Shirley Temple went through a scary event when she was 10 years old that turned her world upside down and showed the bad side of fame. In 1939, Shirley was the victim of a murder attempt while she was on live radio. A woman with a gun aimed straight at Shirley walked onto the stage while Shirley was performing on the radio show. It seems that the woman thought Shirley had taken her late daughter's soul, and that killing Shirley would help her get it back. This event shows the dark side of the celebrity world, where fans' love can sometimes turn into obsession and violence, even though the woman was quickly caught. When you think about how dangerous fame can be, this is a stark warning of that. Not even for a kid. When Shirley Temple's career kept going strong, she found herself in the spotlight at Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, one of Hollywood's big companies. MGM was known for making some of the most famous movies of the time, but it also had some problems. Shirley had a scary experience with director Arthur Freed at MGM. He was in a private meeting with the young actress when he inappropriately exposed himself, which made her feel very uncomfortable. He was known for his work on musicals and later on making classics like Singin' in the Rain. Even though Shirley had been through a lot at MGM, she was still susceptible to the lies spread by Hollywood's gossip mill. Even though she was brilliant and honest, the industry's need for shock value didn't spare anyone, not even its youngest star. The idea that Shirley Temple wasn't really a child but rather an adult actress who had had many surgeries to make her look younger was one of the stories that kept going around. There were people who believed this crazy plot theory and thought Shirley's youthless looks were the result of secret treatments. Because the rumor spread so quickly, 20th Century Fox did something that had never been done before they released Shirley's birth certificate and had a doctor check her out to show she was old. There was another story going around about Shirley that she wasn't naturally redheaded but had her hair dyed. Even though this story wasn't as crazy as the last one, it was still based on a desire to make her less mysterious, and made people question whether she was really a kid star. A lot of people didn't think a child could become as famous and successful as Shirley. Some people said she wasn't a real person, which was one of the most persistent and strange stories about her. Some people who believe in conspiracies said that she was a creation of Hollywood magic, a figure made up to win over the American people. Some people thought she had made a deal with Satan to be so successful. During her early career, this crazy story spread, which seems silly now that we look back on it. It turns out that even the most famous and well-liked people in the business can be affected by the scandals and news stories that come with being famous. What happens to a child star whose infectious smile and boundless ability made the world fall in love with them when they grow up and have to deal with the harsh realities of adulthood? Shirley Temple had to deal with the natural challenge of going from being America's sweetheart to a young adult actress when she turned 13. Her reputation as a child star made the change tough because of how she was seen and treated. People were used to seeing Shirley as the cute moppet with curly hair who could sing and dance her way into their hearts. No one could deny how talented she was, but as she got older, the parts that made her famous became less common. Her film popularity went down because moviegoers' tastes were changing and it was hard for the industry to find parts that were right for an actress who was getting older. Shirley's move from child star to young adult actor didn't go as planned. Her popularity at the box office dropped even though she kept making movies like Since You Went Away and Kiss and Tell It Was Love that had brought her to the top of Hollywood's list, but now it tasted like old times. Shirley Temple carefully switched her career to TV when she realized that her job was changing. Shirley Temple started Shirley Temple Storybook, a TV show in 1958 that adapted old fairy tales and children's stories. Shirley could stay in the public eye and show how versatile she was as an actress by playing different roles from her childhood character on the show. Shirley Temple's Storybook was a new and lasting way for her to connect with her fans. Adults who grew up watching her on TV and movies also liked her on the show, even though it was mostly targeting younger viewers. Shirley's move to TV was a smart one that kept her in the showbiz spotlight and made sure she would always be important in the business. There were times when Shirley Temple had to deal with problems in her personal life, but she was strong and flexible at work. One part of her life that hasn't been told is that she was a very complicated person in her personal life, as shown by her marriages to John Agar and Charles Alden Black. The first man she married was John Agar, a hopeful actor she met on the set of Fort Apache. They got married in 1945, when Shirley was only 17. The media and the people were very happy about the union. But the truth about their relationship was very different from the romantic stories Shirley often played on screen. The stresses of Shirley and John's marriage were made worse by the demands of fame and the difficulties of being a young couple figuring out how to be adults. In the end, they got a divorce in 1949, only 4 years after they got married. To Shirley, the end of her first marriage was a turning point in her personal life. It was the start of her search for lasting love and security. She fell in love again in 1950, this time with a businessman from California named Charles Alden Black. Their relationship grew stronger, and later that year they got married. Shirley's second marriage to Charles Alden Black stood the test of time and the pressures of being famous. Shirley found the safety and happiness she had been looking for when she married Charles. In 1948, they had a daughter named Linda Susan, and a boy in 1952. Charles Jr. Shirley found the comfort and safety she was looking for in her relationship with her husband and their dedication to family life. This helped her with her political ambitions and diplomatic career. Shirley Temple, the curly-haired child star who had won hearts across America in 1967, was known to everyone. Her change from child star to successful actress and then to came from a strong desire to make things different. Shirley's first act in politics was to run for the U.S. House of Representatives, where she would serve California's 11th Congressional District. Shirley got involved in politics because she had seen how unstable social and political situations could get as a mother and a citizen. During her campaign, she pushed for a wide range of issues, such as supporting the Vietnam War, taking a tough stance on crime, and protecting family values. Her political platform represented her conservative views, which were in line with what she personally believed. In the end, she lost her bid for a congressional seat because she couldn't get the nod, but her political career was far from over. In the end, Shirley Temple's desire for political change in the U.S. led her down a different road that made her a well-known figure in the diplomatic community. As President George H.W. Bush chose her to be the U.S. ambassador to Czechoslovakia, it was a big change in her work and a stepping stone to her important role in international relations. But Shirley's service to the public went beyond her job as a minister. Her impact includes her time as U.S. ambassador to Ghana and her work with the UN General Assembly, where she made important contributions to helping people and working together around the world. Shirley Temple was a delegate to the 1974 because she was a strong supporter of children's rights. She worked on issues linked to child welfare and international relations while she was in office. Her work as an advocate, which included efforts to improve child health care and education around the world, showed how much she cared about keeping kids safe from exploitation and abuse. Shirley also worked as the world chairman of the Multiple Sclerosis Society. As head of this group, she used her position to bring attention to multiple sclerosis, a disease she herself was diagnosed with in 1972. Her advocacy work was meant to take away the shame surrounding the condition and encourage study into how to treat and cure it. Many awards and honors were given to Shirley Temple throughout her life for her excellent work in diplomacy, public service, and humanitarian causes. In 2006, she received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is one of the highest civilian awards in the U.S. It was given to her in honor of her outstanding career and her commitment to making the world a better place. Where did her cash go? Shirley Temple was a famous child actor in the 1930s. During her early career, she made a huge fortune, but as an adult, she had a lot of trouble with money. Shirley was a huge star, and her movies did very well at the box office. The way money worked in Hollywood back then, though, was very different from how it is now. Child stars like Shirley didn't always have as much control over their money or information about it as artists do today. In spite of this, she made a lot of money from her movie's success. It was said that she was making a huge $50,000 per movie by the time she was 12. This was a huge amount of money in the 1930s. This number is even more shocking when you take inflation into account. It's now equal to millions of dollars. Shirley made a lot of money from movies, but her image also made a lot of money from merchandise. Her likeness was on toys, clothes, and many other things, which brought in even more money for her. She probably made around $200,000 a year from advertising and selling stuff, which is a lot of money for a child star at the time. Shirley Temple did make a lot of money as a child actor, but that's not the only part of her story. She messed up her money and made some tough choices over the years that cost her a lot of money. Shirley mismanaged her money in part because of the time period in which she lived. In the 1930s and 1940s, child actors often did not have the legal rights and financial oversight that are in place today. Shirley's parents, Gertrude and George Temple, were in charge of her money, but things weren't going very well. George, her father, was known to be careless with money, and Gertrude, her mother, had a hard time keeping an eye on her husband's spending and the family's money. The effects of the Great Depression were another one. A lot of people, including Hollywood stars, were touched by the time's unstable economy. At the time, investments that looked like they would do well lost money, and the financial world became less stable. Shirley's parents made a big financial choice for her when they bought her a mansion in Brentwood, California. It was an extravagant home with a swimming pool, tennis courts, and lots of land. The house was definitely grand, but buying it had big effects on the buyer's finances. Shirley's funds were really hurt by the cost of taking care of her huge, fancy estate. As Shirley Temple became an adult and her job went downhill, her money problems kept getting worse. She had to face the hard truth that the movie parts that had made her famous were getting harder to find. The steady flow of money that had been coming in when she was young started to slow down. This meant that she had to take care of the money she had saved up. Even though there was bad management and money problems, Shirley Temple worked to protect her future finances. In the 1950s, she went back to work in show business, being the star of TV shows like Shirley Temple's Storybook. Last but not least, Shirley's death marked the end of an amazing trip that included fame, wealth, and money problems. When she died, she didn't leave behind nearly as much money as she had when she was a kid star. It is thought that she was worth about $10 million. This isn't a small amount of money, but it's a small part of how much Shirley Temple made when she was at the top of her game. The problems of bad management, wasteful spending, and changes in the economy had worn them down. Those last years and her death, Shirley Temple's time in Hollywood was truly amazing. From the first time she danced on screen as a kid star, she won over people all over the world. She stood out from her peers because of her special skills, contagious positivity, and undeniable charm. In the 1930s, she was Hollywood's biggest movie star. Shirley had an effect that went far beyond the box office, though. She became famous all over the world. A lot of awards and medals were given to her throughout her life in recognition of her amazing accomplishments. The Kennedy Center Honors, which she received in 1998, were one of the most important awards she received. This honor recognized her outstanding contributions to the performing arts and cemented her position as a legendary figure in American entertainment. In 2006, Shirley was given the Screen Actors Guild Life Achievement Award to honor her work, a sign of how much she has changed the performing world. This award, which is given to actors who have made excellent contributions to the field, recognized her amazing career, which spanned decades and will forever be remembered in the annals of film. Shirley Temple had an impact on many areas of life, not just movies. The Shirley Temple, a famous non-alcoholic drink, became linked to her name. Tale was a favorite drink of both kids and adults. It was usually made with ginger ale, grenadine syrup, and a maraschino cherry. But the actress herself saw the irony. She joked that she was the only woman who had ever gone into the White House and not had a drink when she left. The Shirley Temple doll was one of the most famous and long-lasting things that people thought of when they thought of Shirley Temple. These dolls were carefully made to look like the young star, right down to the curls on her hair and the clothes that were based on her movie parts. Kids all over the country begged for their very own Shirley Temple doll, and for many of them, it became a beloved toy. Shirley's picture was on a lot of different things, like trading cards, board games, and even stationery. She was all over the place. Because she was so famous, a huge business grew around selling Shirley Temple merchandise. Shirley had an impact that went far beyond the silver screen kids could own a piece of her. She died on February 10, 2014, and she was 85 years old. Many people from all over the world sent their regrets and tributes after she died. It was the end of an era. People remember her not only as a great actor, but also as an amazing woman who changed American history forever. People who remember Shirley Temple as America's favorite child star will always love her movies, the work she did in government and public service, and their love for her. Her story shows that movies have lasting power and that one person can touch the hearts of millions of people. Thanks for sticking around for another show. To see more, click the next movie on your screen.